Hey, how you doing? Justin here. I'm back for another session with Ant Law, terrifyingly good jazz guitar player who plays in fourths tuning. It's something I had a little bit of a crack at about 20 years ago and went, nah, can't do it, it's too difficult, doesn't fit with all of the stuff I want to do. But I know there's a lot of pros and cons, so I thought that we might use this video for anyone who was thinking about getting into playing in fourths.
Yeah.
What it is, why you chose to do it, what the good things are and what the bad things are, and how somebody might get started if they wanted to.
Yeah, cool.
There's a lot of stuff. So
yeah.
What is it?
So fourths is the interval, confusingly, right off the bat, as they say, where you tune to the 5th fret. That's a perfect fourth interval,
okay.
Right? And the way that I tune a perfect fourth, so I go down from the high E, so I'm tune B, and then normally we tend to tune to the 4th fret there, right? So
exactly.
So for you it's E, B, G. For me it's E, B, G flat, D flat, A flat, E flat.
Right.
Which I went that way because I thought, okay, E flat, that's cool, it's a bit like Hendrix, and also all jazz tunes seem to be in flat keys, so that's going to be quite cool, you know. I've got my root there for...
I could see it. Hendrix because he was tuned down a semitone, or Hendrix...
Exactly, yeah. Or Malmsteen, you know, I mean, whatever.
Okay. So I found that when I saw that you tuned that way, it struck me as weird straight away because I think most of the other guys that I know tuning fourths go up, so their lowest one is an E.
That's it.
And
that's it. Yeah.
The thinnest two strings become C and F.
Yeah, which is quite cool because then you've got all white notes and also you're only changing a third of the guitar. You're changing a third of the strings, whereas for me I had to kind of relearn the bottom 4 strings instead of just learning the top 2, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the main motivation was I realized I was about to do some serious work in kind of crunching all the information on the neck, kind of arpeggios and scales and things, based on the lesson that I had with you, and it was major 7, minor 7, dominant 7 and minor 7 flat 5 being, you know, incredibly useful. And then realizing that, let's say if I learn a D major 7 here, if I want to play it here, I'm going to have to use this kind of A major 7 shape and then a different shape here. And I thought, oh, okay, well, that's okay. But what about D minor 7? Okay, so that's one shape here. And then it's another shape here. What a pain. If I tune in fourths, it's the same shape. So here's a D major 7. You can hear all the same. So D minor 7. So if I say, let's teach you some weird chord that people probably don't know. D diminished major 7. It's the same shape instantly across the neck. So that's
and it works even if they're split as well, because they were all closed voicings where you had 4 notes together.
Yeah,
but if
exactly.
If there's
we could take a big spread triad, for example. You can't.
Exactly. So that's a pretty cool feature.
It is quite cool, yeah. Although it's not the best thing about it for me. The main cool thing for me is that it's intuitive, I think. Now, if you already know where all the notes are on the neck and you can play loads of stuff, it's not really going to make that much difference because you can get around. You know where the notes are that you want to get to, but at the time, I didn't really. And it helped kind of accelerate that process a little bit.
Of learning where the note names are on the neck.
Exactly, yeah. And, you know, because although I might not...
How did it help with that?
Well, I guess if I think... I know that's D... Yeah. Okay, no, sorry, for me. So I know that's D, I know that's D. So I know that's F sharp, I know that's F sharp, you know. So I know, I guess by just having this symmetry, being able to copy the same pattern, I got F sharp, D, A, D. F sharp, D, A, D. F sharp, D. You know, it's just, it's symmetric. Like a piano which repeats each octave. You can copy something and, you know, it's not always the most musical thing to do, and I do catch myself going, okay, here's a cool lick. I'm just going to continue, oh great, and I continue up an octave and continue up an octave. It's not always the best option because things sound kind of weird in different octaves, you know.
So how does the cage system work? So everything I think about is based around one of those 5. So all of the scales and arpeggios, everything fits into one of the 5 patterns of a particular chord. And that all comes about because of the tuning. So if you take an E chord and you move it down and you move the note on the B string up a fret, you get the A chord. If you move an A chord down a string and then you take the note that was on the B string, move it up a fret, you get a D shape. So and it keeps going like that, and you end up with C, A, G, E, and D. What happens in fourths?
Well,
how does it work like that?
None of that at all. So C for me is like that, which is really difficult. I mean, G is like this.
Oh,
it's awful. But G flat is like this. And B is like this. But I guess rather than thinking of C, A, G, E, and D, I'm just thinking about maybe like a major triad. So for you, if that D is like a triad, you got the fifth, you got the root, and the third. So for me, I'm going fifth root third, wherever that is. Or it might be, let's say if we had C for you like that. That's going root third, fifth. For me, you know, that's the same thing here. But then I'm just, rather than adjusting that B string onto the first fret, I know if I keep that there, I've got my root fifth. Root third, fifth, then octave octave.
So how do you play the same chord in where I think I didn't explain my question well enough. So if you wanted to play a C chord in
if I want to move something around.
Do you use 5 patterns still? Would you be thinking of C major 7 like that, like that, like that, like that? Do you still think in?
Do you know what?
That term at all,
I don't think I do, and I don't think there would be a benefit to doing it in this tuning particularly, because I don't think you have that. I think things copy up and down the neck or across the neck without having to learn the different shapes.
But you must still have.
I have got different shapes.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got different shapes.
Okay, so how many shapes do you learn of each arpeggio?
Yeah, sure. Well, why don't we take one? So I guess I learn as many as I can to start off with. But
if we said C major 7, how many do you use?
So to start off with, I would do some drop 2 shapes. I would do that, and then I would also do drop 3, I think.
What does that mean for those out there that don't?
It means you take the notes, and when it's compressed into an octave, and you drop by an octave the third highest note in the case of drop 3s, which sounds really complicated, but it's basically, if any of you play that chord for A major 7, that's a drop 3 voicing. Then you copy that up. So for me,
just doing inversions of that.
Inversions, exactly. Yeah.
So putting different notes of the chord on that as the lowest note.
Exactly. So I've probably got maybe 4 key zones based on the
inversions.
On the key, and that's equally useful. And
you would use that for an arpeggio as well. So if you're playing arpeggios of all of those, you would base them around those 4 grips.
Yeah. And I think maybe one slightly dangerous thing about fourths is that we tend. I may have got in the habit of separating chords from melody to start off with, whereas then chords and melodies never really separate from chords. You know, they're kind of intimately intertwined, and so if you learn a scale, that's really useful to think of them together. The way I learned scales was 3 note per string sort of modes, and so I guess I think I had a different approach. But there comes a time when you've learned so much stuff on the neck, and you spend a bit of time sticking it together that you go, okay, I think I pretty much get what this is about, you know.
What does B flat major scale look like in this tune?
B flat major for me,
so just like a closed voicing, so without any open strings.
Yes.
B flat major scale without any open strings.
If you do the 3 note per string one.
Okay, so it's a 3 note per string, but it doesn't travel up the neck like normal 3 note per string scales. For me, have to. Just 1 second. From here,
you've got a little jump.
I'm already out of the place where I started from, but you're able to do it within it, but still playing 3 notes per string.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, sometimes it's good to travel up the neck.
I'm not saying good or bad. It's just different.
I never play that because that's too hard. But 4 note per string scales, you know, you can. It's a really good thing to explore those directions and if I do skip up like that, maybe to miss out a note or even to skip back that way, you know, to get little weird licks like that can be quite fun.
That's cool. So what are the disadvantages? So the advantages are the shapes stay the same no matter what string grouping they are relative to a root note or a tonic or whatever. Disadvantages?
There are no disadvantages. No, bullshit. There are many. The disadvantage is that you never ever play Wonderwall.
That's perfect.
That is gone forever. There is no way physically without 2 more fingers that you'll ever be able to play
basic
train running. So if you want to get if you're a player who's maybe really playing is rooted in a lot of very traditional guitar language, then I think it's going to be a disaster to tune in fourths. But I sort of realized early on, I think I was reading on Steve Vai's website, and he says, be an individual. The only thing that you can do better than everyone else is be yourself. And so I thought, oh, well, Steve Vai is telling me to be an individual, then I'll be an individual, which is a bit of a paradox, but of course, you know.
No, but interestingly, I did an interview with Steve Vai 10 years ago probably, and he said that he got his own style by accentuating the things he was really good at, because I always thought as a teacher, it's something that I often talk about, is working on your weaknesses. And I think working on your weaknesses is a good idea. But if you want to be an artist, perhaps it's better to focus on your strengths and exaggerate them even, like beyond
That's it. I think you're absolutely right. Like I spent years and years, I would do a kind of 2.5 hour economy picking, practicing every morning. And I'm talking for a couple of years, and I can't do it. I still can't do it. And eventually I got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm just going to go with what I can do, which is some other weird kind of stuff. So I think playing to one's strengths is really important.
If you want to be, but I'm just prefacing it for people, anyone who's watching it, I think that's if you're motivated to make your destiny being an artist, as opposed to being a jobbing session player or whatever, because if you wanted to play in a band, like you would struggle to play in a covers band doing standard pop repertoire.
I have struggled and will continue to probably,
because of exactly what you said. Playing the standard repertoire of stuff in regular tuning becomes very difficult. But for you can perhaps in a lot of ways it's actually even better, because it forces you to focus on your own identity and your own sound, because you can't waste time on that other stuff.
I suppose so. Exactly. I mean, you can either pick a completely different tuning. Like, didn't Robert Fripp do that? He's got his own tuning.
Possibly,
or open tunings. You know, whatever it is. But I think that's important. Like if we were talking earlier, I do some commercial work where I have to play other guitar parts and I will have to play in standard tuning, and I don't really like it. It's confusing, but
you've got facility enough to figure it out, I guess. But you wouldn't want to do something really complicated. I guess you wouldn't want to play Stella in a standard tuning.
Exactly. I mean, we could try it at the end. It would be really funny and terrible. But in fact, I remember I was playing with Alex Hutching years and years ago, and he could play that lick, that slurped LA. That big long Frank Gambale, and I just gave him the guitar in fourths, and he played the same lick, and it came out. The top 2 strings were like out by a semitone, so it was like the most hippest, supercharged space, version of the lick.
Fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Wow. That's a crazy idea.
Yeah,
especially jazz, Frank's a real jazzer, like a straight ahead kind of a jazz.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah. He's gone very, very traditional, hasn't he?
Yeah, interesting. That's a fun idea. So, if somebody wanted to get into fourths, they've listened to what we've said and they've gone, I don't care about playing long train running ever again. So, I want to play in fourths. How should they start? What would be a good starting point?
Just do it. Maybe just do it and see if you can work out some of your basic chord voicings. So maybe try. So D is going to be like that now.
Okay, looks like an A minor chord on the wrong.
Exactly. So just maybe if you're going to tune the top 2 strings up a semitone, which is not what I do, but it's probably the best way. Then move everything you play on those
2 strings down.
Exactly. So you could start by doing that. Obviously, it's a big topic, which is why I wrote a book which covers all of the things. So I think we're going to put some fretboard diagrams.
We'll put some basic diagrams on my website. There'll be a link in the description of the YouTube video if you're not already on my website, and we'll put a link through to the book if they want to explore it further.
Yeah.
But,
so I would say that, and maybe work out, experiment with a couple of things that you can normally play really well. It might be that, or it might be. Whatever it is. You've got to kind of cheat with that one.
No, I was going to say, that looks really interesting though, to play the pentatonic and then have to move.
It's quite funny,
That's interesting, because actually it's nice for the third finger to be in the same fret.
Yeah. I mean, it just looks different, and it can be confusing to start off with. But I think
have you watched Eric Gales play before?
Not so much.
Do you know who he is?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So because he's upside down, right? So
yeah,
the thin string's up here, and when you watch him play online, it's like,
sure.
What?
Yeah,
it looks totally wrong.
Yeah,
but it sounds incredible. Yeah.
Hey, one thing, just a little side thing, is it's really cool to copy patterns up. If there are any advanced kind of jazzy sort of people, who know their arpeggios, little patterns like where. Or even I have this diminished lick that I never really use it, but it's there. Where you just kind of copy up tritones or major thirds, So there are loads of cool things that you can just kind of copy. What am I trying to do? You can just copy all this crazy stuff across the neck, and and apparently it's still whole tone.
Oh, of course. Yeah. So in this tuning, the whole tones will always be
they'll be like that and like that. So provided I always skip a string.
And do they stay that way? Or only when you skip a string?
Yes, but I guess it would go. That sounds like a cool intro. We could do like Somewhere Over the Window.
Because the whole tone in regular tuning is already interesting as well, in that you have that pattern of being. Where's my sound?
Yes. Yeah.
It's already got some sort of symmetricity kind of shape to it.
The geometry of it's pretty cool up there.
Yeah.
It's different here. One thing that I do like in standard tuning is with the diminished scale, if you play maybe G half whole from there, for me, I kind of have to shift back, but you can kind of copy something from the G string to the B string.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same pattern, exactly. Yeah. So you could kind of come up with some weird string skipping lick by just copying and pasting across the strings, which I'm always like, oh damn, I wonder what.
Well, I find that one interesting as well, in that you have this sort of pattern of. You have the minor thirds strip going up, and then this other shape in between. There is some really interesting symmetry within. It's a symmetrical scale, I guess.
Yeah.
So, what's diminished scale look like for you then? You said you have to step back.
So from there.
See, that becomes more of a peak for you than it does for me.
Yeah.
Fourth.
Yeah, exactly. So, going across, it might be, or going. I don't know. It's just different. The geometry basically is different.
It's I find it an interesting proposition. The idea of changing the tuning. I had are you aware of the acoustic guitar, the French acoustic guitar player Pierre Bensusan?
No.
Beautiful acoustic. Does very, very complicated things. He's the dadgad guy, right?
Okay,
he plays only in dadgad, but he does these beautiful harmonic things. But he can also play like jazz standards.
Wow.
So he's in dadgad.
Oh man,
he does. Yeah, and I had a really interesting conversation with him about the pros and cons of that, because he can do all of these beautiful. We talked before about the way the differences between your tuning and an open tuning is like polar opposites, right?
Yeah.
So, but he's figured out those things for jazz as well. It's a really
that's
it's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah,
a lovely dude.
I most certainly will. Yeah,
interesting cat. But I find the idea of re-examining things in tunings interesting, and I use odd tunings all the time because it's a circuit breaker for me. It'll stop me playing the stuff that I usually do. So if I'm writing particularly, I often do things like I tune one string up or down a semitone just to see what happens, because it's going to take me somewhere where I wasn't before. Yeah. So do you still do that? Is it where that's coming back to?
Do I still swap it and see what happens?
Do you ever go, well, what happens if I tune my E string up a semitone?
Yeah, no,
just to force yourself into...
Not frequently, but every now and then I'll try something crazy. Like I've got an acoustic which I tuned in fifths. But to be honest, that was so weird, I just couldn't find anything that I liked the sound of.
It's probably not that much more weird than me trying to play in fourths. So
I suppose, yeah. Maybe it's something that interrupts the symmetry that's important, whereas if I'm just picking fifths, it's just the sort of same thing all the way. Hey, by the way, I heard that Pat Martino did that. He would retune the guitar randomly and then play a big normal Pat Martino lick. I don't know if this is true, by the way. Maybe people can verify. play the normal fingering and then see what comes out, and what came out would be totally hip and weird and new because of the tuning, and then you'd go, oh, I like that, and then you would transcribe and work out how to play it in standard
That's an interesting idea.
Weird, yeah.
Yeah, I've met Pat Martino as well, but I never got to ask him that question. He was on the pentatonic. Everything's a pentatonic when I spoke to him, but he seems to change his perspective on things pretty frequently, which is fantastic. That's not a criticism, but
I like the octave triad thing.
Yeah,
that's cool. That thing,
that's
right?
really cool.
He was on that at some point.
That's what I mean. I guess that's part of the journey, is to explore those different
concepts.
There was definitely a period where he related everything back to a minor pentatonic scale, and that was really, in my journey, was at the point I discovered that when I was still a blues player. So for me it was like, I love this guy. This guy's using a minor pentatonic upper semitone for a five, or whatever,
very helpful.
Helpful in that thing. So if you've got really into this fourth thing and you want to explore it a little bit more, if you're on YouTube, check out the link in the description. It'll have some more links to Ant's music and some PDF downloads of some diagrams and stuff that you might want to check out. Hope it's tickled your imagination somewhat, and I'll see you for plenty more very soon.
May the force be with you.
Oh, God.